Zelda: The Wand of Gamelon was released in 1993 for the Phillips CD-i. Developed by Animation Magic in collaboration with Nintendo, it is a side-scrolling action-adventure game created with the Legend of Zelda IP, and is similar in style to the Nintendo Entertainment System's Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link. The Phillips CD-i was released in 1991 by the Dutch company Philips and is noteworthy for being one of the first consoles to store games on a compact disc format instead of on game cartridges. This CD format was co-developed by Philips and Sony, and the Philips CD-i took advantage of the disc format's versatility to originally market itself not specifically as a games console, but rather an internet-capable multimedia console. In terms of hardware, the Philips CD-i had a SCC 68070 processor with a 15.5 MHz clock speed along with 1 MB of RAM, which is roughly 4 times the clock speed and 8 times the RAM of the Super Nintendo Entertainment System released just a year earlier. The CD-i also supported a resolution of up to 768 by 560 pixels, in contrast to the Super Nintendo's 512 by 478 pixels. The result of this powerful hardware was a price tag of $1,000 on initial release, 5 times more than the Super Nintendo's $200 price point. The console wasn't much of a hit on release, likely due to its high price and its marketing, focusing more on educational applications instead of games. After noticing that most of the console's software sales were coming from games, Philips switched its focus to the video game market. They would release a later version of the console with a cheaper price tag, along with a controller more suited for playing games, instead of the previous TV remote-like controller, which often made gameplay awkward and frustrating. They would also obtain the rights to use the Nintendo IPs of Mario, Donkey Kong, Link, and Zelda, which allowed Philips to make games such as Hotel Mario and Zelda: The Wand of Gamelon. Unfortunately, this wasn't enough to save the CD-i. Philips abandoned it in 1996 as it was deemed a commercial failure, estimated to have lost Philips $1 billion in the American market. Zelda: The Wand of Gamelon itself was developed by a small team consisting of 19 different people over the course of its creation, spearheaded by development manager Dale DeSharone. DeSharone has stated he recalls development for the game to be rough, only being given about a year to complete the project, with a limited amount of resources and only $600,000 provided to his team. Philips was expecting the finished game to be of higher quality than Nintendo's Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link, created 6 years prior. However, Nintendo provided little to no information concerning the canonical creative details of the Legend of Zelda franchise, so as a result, DeSharone and his team had to base the Wand of Gamelon solely off the previously released Zelda titles, their game manuals, and their box art. While this provided plenty of creative freedom for DeSharone and his team, it also resulted in pressure to create a quality game in an already established franchise with very little feedback provided throughout development. In the end, this caused the Wand of Gamelon to stray from its source material and to be ultimately denied as canon by Nintendo. The Wand of Gamelon poorly executes the implementation of various game aspects, which makes gameplay difficult for many players. First of all, Zelda's hitbox is generous, making her vulnerable from a variety of angles, many of which are not defendable. This forces play patterns to be more aggressive in nature. However, this is difficult to master, as player controls are unresponsive at times. Jumping patterns are particularly erratic, often causing untimely deaths and endless frustration. Also, due to the confusing CDI controller commands, to use an item and to jump both involved holding the same button, resulting often in unintended jumping, which further complicates to an already unreliable jumping system. The levels themselves have several issues as well. The map paint and backgrounds lack a sense of depth and indication for platforms, entrances, and exits, which often causes confusion for players when navigating levels. Also, the level design was constricted to allow side-scrolling for up to 2.5 screens horizontally, due to hardware constraints arising from limited video memory. The jarring animations, developed by a team of 7 Russian animators, also have received much scrutiny from critics for their lack of realism and choppy look when compared to other game animations of the time. Despite these issues, the Wand of Gamelon is also praised for its background artwork, surprisingly good music, and relaxed quest-based gameplay. DeSharone and his team acknowledged the disappointment and heavy criticism for the game, but feel as though they did a good job, given the limited amount of time and resources allotted to development. Despite the game being commonly regarded by critics as relatively much worse than the rest of the franchise, its unsettling animations and poor gameplay have cemented Zelda: The Wand of Gamelon in nerd culture, resulting in it still being remembered by many to this day.